Hola estudiantes, hoy vamos a continuar la lección sobre el pretérito con los verbos ver e ir. Okay, we're going to continue our discussion of preterite verbs, but this time we're going to try er and ir verbs, which are just a little bit different. So, when to use the preterite stays the same. El pretérito is used to speak about completed actions that had a finite beginning and end, actions that happened once or a specific number of times in the past, and sudden interruptions. So to give you another example of when to use el pretérito, if I went to my favorite taco shop 5 times last week, and each time I ate 3 tacos, went and ate would use el pretérito because I went a finite number of times and that action is completed. Okay, it's not a question of whether or not the action is over. I ate the tacos, they're gone, it's completed. So it would use el pretérito. Ahora, a formar el pretérito, hay unos fines. There's some endings that you use to form the preterite with an er or ir verbs. Luckily, they're the same for both er and ir verbs in the preterite. Okay, in the present tense, the endings vary slightly. In the preterite, all the endings are the same for the er and ir verbs. There are 6 of them. Yo goes with I. Okay, so in the present tense it's an O. In the preterite tense it's an I with an accent mark. And again, the accent is important here. Tú goes with iste. Él, ella, and usted go with yo. I bet that you'll start to see some similarities between the preterite endings for er and ir verbs and the preterite endings for ar verbs. Specifically, the ste is the same in aste and iste. There's an o with an accent mark in both o and io. Okay. The nosotros ending is imos. That's pretty easy. You just have to remember that in the present tense it could be either hemos or imos, depending on if it's an er verb or an ir verb. But in the preterite, it's always imos. Same with vosotros and vosotras. In the present tense, there are 2 possible endings, eis and is. But in the preterite, there's just one, istes. You'll notice that just like the ar verb, it has the tu ending first and then an is, istes. Okay, because it's kind of like multiple tus, vosotros is. And then finally for ellos, ellas, and ustedes, we have hieron. Okay, you'll notice it's a bit similar to aron, the ar verb ending for the preterite tense ellos. Okay, they both have n's, just like en and an. Okay, all the verb endings that have to do with ellos, ellas, and ustedes, all the ones we've learned so far, they all have an n at the end. Okay, so go ahead and copy those onto your notes. I, iste, yo, imos, istes, hieron. You'll find that it also sounds like a song you know. So here's an example with an er verb, comer. So in the present tense, I say yo como, tú comes, él, ella, and usted come, nosotros o nosotras comemos, vosotros o vosotras coméis, and ellos, ellas, o ustedes comen. In the preterite tense, it's yo comí, tú comiste, él, ella y usted comió, nosotros y nosotras comimos, vosotros y vosotras comisteis, and ellos, ellas o ustedes comieron. Let's look at another example, this time with an IR verb, like escribir. In the present tense, we say yo escribo, I write. Tú escribes, you write. Él, ella, o usted escribe, he, she, or you formal write. Nosotros o nosotras escribimos, we write. Vosotros o vosotras escribís, y'all write. Y ellos, ellas, o ustedes escriben, they or you all write. If I want to talk about I wrote or you wrote, okay, this verb in the past tense, I say yo escribí, tú escribiste, él, ella o usted escribió, nosotros o nosotras escribimos, vosotros o vosotras escribisteis, y ellos, ellas y ustedes escribieron. So I hope you can see now how the verbs fit together when you apply the new endings for the preterite tense. Let's look at some examples. ¿Qué quiere decir ellas bebieron en inglés? Correcto, es they drank. Ellas bebieron. How about él entendió? ¿Qué quiere decir él entendió en inglés? Es he understood. Correcto. ¿Qué quiere decir yo respondí en inglés? Es I responded. Okay, so these are in the past tense. Make sure your English definition is also in the past tense. ¿Qué quiere decir tú interrumpiste en inglés? It's you interrupted. You being the informal you. Tú. Ahora, en español. ¿Cómo se dice en español? We understood. Careful on this one because it's a little bit different than the present tense, but not much different. Es entendimos. Okay? In the present tense it would be entendemos, but in the past tense it's entendimos. ¿Cómo se dice en español? You, informal, left. The verb is salir. Es saliste. Tú saliste. ¿Cómo se dice en español? They learned. El verbo es aprender. Es aprendieron. Ellos o ellas aprendieron. ¿Cómo se dice en español? I drank. The verb is beber. Es bebí. Yo bebí. ¿Cómo se dice en español? You saw. The verb is ver. Correcto, es viste. Tú viste. ¿Cómo se dice en español? He received. Es recibió. Él recibió. Okay, that's our last example for now. finish your practice. We're going to be practicing this a lot in the future, okay? So make sure your notes are complete, but don't worry if you don't get every single one right on the first practice. Bueno, nos vemos muy pronto. Chao.